Boom, people, welcome back. In this video, we're gonna talk about investors that want to leave your fund. This is something good to think about, maybe put into your docs and make sure it's organized the right way. So now it's very similar if you're running an open-ended or close-ended fund. Now to review, an open-ended fund, you are just starting today and going in perpetuity as an open-ended fund. A lot of those funds will have ways that investors can enter and exit the fund. For example, my fund is an open-ended fund, my Ugly Unicorn Crypto Fund. How it works, you have to give us a 90-day notice, and then we pull your money out at the next quarter mark. So it's 90 days and then the next quarter mark. So it's usually 90 to 120, 130 days, something like that is where you're getting your money out. Now, on a close-ended fund, a close-ended vehicle, you have a start date and end date. Typically, their money is locked up for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and you, the fund manager, decide when to give their money back. And there's usually, you can write that up. We have other videos that discuss how to do an open-end or close-end fund. But let's say the example of an investor comes to you and says, Bridger, hey, I forgot to pay taxes last year. I need the money out and I need to pull it out like now. So let's walk through those options, how you would exit an investor out of your fund. And this is for an open-ended or closed-ended fund. And actually, I've had this happen to me a few times. I've had a few people, hey, I'm in a big lawsuit. I've got a big project over here. I've got to pull out money. I'm sorry. I love you guys. I got to pull money. Or other people have called us up. Hey, I don't like you guys. I want to pull your money out. It's okay. We'll figure it out for you. So what are their options? Option number one, and this is in open-ended or closed-ended funds. Option number one is there is a 50% penalty when you pull your money out. Now, why 50%? That's a common number that is used in a lot of funds. You make this penalty very steep. You do not want investors coming out in and out of your fund and at a whim. You want to make the penalty severe. Hey, if you're going to break contract and pull money out before we need to provide liquidity, we have to sell some assets, it may hurt the other investors in the fund. And because of that, it's going to be a 50% penalty. And you put that in your LPA and PPM. They sign up for that when they join the fund. I would put that in all your LPAs and PPMs, a steep penalty for leaving the fund. That's your first option. Second option, okay? In an open-ended fund like ours, hey, you can wait 90 days and then go to the next quarter mark. Okay, you just wait. In the closed-ended fund, sorry, you got to wait till year 5 when we start selling the assets and we can pull you out. Okay, you just wait. Follow the contract. Option number 3, you sell the position on a secondary market. So how this works, there are sometimes, we've done a few of these actually. We have had a few investors that called us up, Bridger, I need to pull my money out like now. And I'm like, well, you got to wait 125 days to get your money out. And they say, I can't wait. I have to pull my money out like now. And I say, well, it's a 50% penalty. And they say, well, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, I have another investor that may be interested in buying your shares. And so what can happen is other investors or other parties can come buy that person's position in your fund. It's called a secondary transaction. This is actually a transfer agreement we have used. Now, a few notes. And this is a template, and we can provide this for you. And we got this from our third-party administrator and our lawyers. This is a templated document, pretty standard. Now, as a note, you as the fund manager, I would tell them, hey, I am not involved. All I can do, I can make an introduction. You guys can negotiate the price of what you want to buy or share or whatever, and then let me know. And what has to happen, the fund has to run KYC and AML. And at the bottom of this page, we have to sign and approve the transfer as the general partner. That's it, okay? But you guys figure it out on your own. Okay, so we said, hey, we have a templated document you can use, but again, it's up to you the terms. So one example, we had a guy in our fund, he had $1 million in our fund. He hit the red button, I have to get out. I have this other project that's going terrible. We said, okay, let's see what we can do. We teamed him up with another investor. He sold his $1 million position at a 10% discount. And I think they put that right in here, let's see in the document here. There's a little spot here. So for example, the transferee and transferor, they paid in this example, the position was worth $1 million. They paid $900,000 for that position, but they got a $1 million position. So the secondary person essentially got $100,000 on paper for free just because they came in later and gave this person liquidity. The person lost 10% of their position for liquidity. Hopefully that makes sense. So they decided the terms. They decided 10%. We did not help negotiate. We did not want to act as a broker dealer and deal in that transaction and said, hey, this is your transaction. They presented this document to us. As the fund, we ran KYC. We said, yes, we will accept this transaction. So what we did is we took the position and we just transferred it to a new entity. And the new entity took control of that $1 million position in our fund, okay? A couple other notes on this. You oftentimes will strike a NAV. So he put in, he put in, and I think it's actually a bigger number. So he put in $1 million. And let's say in your fund, that position is now worth 1.2 million. You struck a NAV, a net asset value of your fund. The shares, there's still $1 million of shares, but those shares are now worth 1.2 million. Does that make sense? He came in at $1 million, they're now worth 1.2, and we're gonna sell at a 10% discount. Let's use the same example. So that would be a $120,000 discount. You would buy that position for, in this example, $1,080,000 to buy that position, okay, at a 10% discount off of 1.2 million. Also, the position could be down. Maybe he came and he started $1 million, but now the position's only worth 800,000. Okay. Again, a 10% discount would bring that to $720,000. They would buy that $800,000 position. I'm just giving you one example of a 10% discount. We've seen people in our fund. We've had probably 2 or 3 of these happen. That's how you could exit a position. So again, to review, number 1, they can take a penalty, 50% penalty. Number 2, they can just wait for that withdrawal period. And you guys can decide what you want to do with your withdrawal period in your fund. Or number 3, they can deal as a secondary and maybe another investor or a fund. There are actually secondary funds out there. Might be a good idea for you. A secondary fund, they wait for investors to have liquidity crunches and they come buy secondary positions. They usually generate very, very good IRRs because you're already getting that discount to buy in. And in a 5, let's call it a 7-year fund, you're already 3 years in. So you're buying it at a discount and you've taken away 3 years, and it helps your returns, your IRRs go way up. So something to be interested in. You can request something like a template like this from your lawyers or from a third-party administrator as well. This is the one we used, and they are the ones, again, it's their contract. We can provide a template, but it's their contract they got to figure out. The general partner approves the transaction of the fund. Hopefully that's helpful. See you next video. Bye-bye.